Hello, Sentinels. This is Universe Unique, and today, the truth comes out. A new Superman is on the way, but not in the way we expected. James Gunn just dropped a major announcement. The official title of Superman 2 will be Man of Tomorrow, and its release date is already set. July 9th, 2027. Coincidence? Not at all. That's right before Pattinson returns in The Batman 2. 2 movies, 2 versions, the same year. Is there really no connection? Something doesn't add up. And we're going to break it down. Before we continue, if this type of content keeps you connected with the biggest news and sharpest theories from the Geek Universe, subscribe now. We're close to reaching a major milestone here on the channel, and your subscription can make all the difference. Plus, you won't miss the upcoming videos, which are going to be even more in-depth. And tell me in the comments, from which city and country are you watching this? I'll be reading every single one, and I want to know how far this network of multiverse sentinels really reaches. When James Gunn revealed the concept art for Superman, Man of Tomorrow, he didn't just confirm the title and the date, he revealed the exact direction of the new DCU. And this isn't just a sequel. It isn't simply the next chapter. It's a paradigm shift. What many overlooked is that this announcement doesn't come alone. It comes with a surgical strategy to position David Corenswit's Superman as the emotional core of the new universe. Right before Matt Reeves' darker, disconnected Batman makes his return. Coincidence? No. Gunn is setting something up. A duality, an inevitable comparison. Superman as the interplanetary symbol of hope, while Batman remains trapped in gothic misery. But the unsettling part is in the details. The chosen release date isn't just an editorial decision, it's a message. In Gunn's universe, Man of Tomorrow isn't just a title, it's a mission statement. Superman will not be the old-fashioned Boy Scout, nor Snyder's untouchable god. He'll be something in between, or maybe something worse. And pay close attention. In the promotional artwork, the suit is more comic accurate than ever, but with a texture that suggests something else. An evolution, a weight. And in the background, something subtle, almost imperceptible. A hidden figure, a visual clue that could completely change what we think we know about the villain. I'll break that down in a moment, because there's another layer here, and it begins with an alliance no one expected. What if Lex Luthor isn't the villain this time, but the ally? When James Gunn released the concept art for Man of Tomorrow, the first reaction was to focus on Superman's suit. But the real message was on the other side of the frame. Lex Luthor in his battle armor. That isn't just an aesthetic choice, it's a statement. Lex is stepping onto the battlefield, but not on the side you might expect. Traditionally, Lex has always been positioned as Superman's ultimate antagonist. Manipulative, narcissistic, obsessed with control, and fueled by contempt for meta-humans. But here, there's a shift. Gunn has already made it clear that Superman Legacy was never meant to be a self-contained story. It was the opening move in a larger saga. At the end of the first film, Lex is sent to prison, a direct echo of All-Star Superman. And just like in that comic, imprisonment doesn't mean inactivity. It means planning. In Grant Morrison's comics, Lex doesn't need freedom to pull strings. From his cell, he restructures the world. Gunn seems to be following the same logic, presenting a Lex who, in the face of Brainiac, becomes the only human mind capable of matching his level of calculation and strategy. An alliance? Not exactly. More of a forced truce. Because when the enemy controls technology, knowledge, and the very history of the Kryptonians, even a human genius becomes necessary. But there's a second layer here. Lex isn't helping Superman out of a desire to save the world. He's doing it for access. Brainiac holds intelligence and data far beyond any supercomputer on Earth. And deep down, Lex has never stopped believing that the world would be better under his control. This alliance may look temporary, but it could also become his path back into public favor. A rehabilitated Lex, an unexpected savior. Now think about this. If Brainiac arrives with the full capacity to collect cities, worlds, and civilizations, wouldn't Superman need a larger team? And what if the first person at the table is his greatest enemy? The real question isn't whether Lex will betray Superman. That's almost a certainty. The question is when, and whether by then it will already be too late. Because there's another figure who could complicate everything. And it's not Lex, not Superman, not even Brainiac. It's someone we've already seen, but whose allegiance is still unclear. Since the ending of Superman, Legacy, one sequence has stayed in people's minds. Supergirl, drunk, descending from space to pick up Krypto. At first glance, it worked as a gag. But in the context of the new DCU, it's far more important. It's a connection point between two narrative lines that will converge in Man of Tomorrow. Gunn has already hinted that the Superman sequel won't be a simple continuation, but an ensemble story, a super family event. And that changes everything. This won't be a lone Superman facing Brainiac. It will be an expanded Kryptonian nucleus, with Kara Zor-El playing a central role. Not just because of her power, but because of her memory. She remembers Brainiac. In the comics, and particularly in games like Injustice 2, Supergirl witnesses Brainiac's attack on Krypton firsthand. She remembers the trauma, the technology, the tactics. Superman doesn't. He arrived on Earth after the destruction was complete. That difference makes Kara a strategic key. She's not just a cousin, she's a survivor. A witness to what Brainiac can do. And there's more. In Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Kara travels to a system with a red sun, where she can get drunk, bleed, and even die. It's there she learns what it means to be a hero without her usual powers. While the film adaptation of that comic hasn't been released yet, Gunn's DCU appears to be laying the groundwork for Kara's return to Earth, just in time to face Brainiac. And another name is echoing behind the scenes: Lobo. Jason Momoa has long been linked to the role, and while he doesn't appear in the original Woman of Tomorrow comic, Gunn has teased that he could be introduced as a hired antagonist, specifically one tasked with hunting Kryptonians. His first appearance might come in the Supergirl movie, but his real confrontation would likely happen later, in Man of Tomorrow. Because if Brainiac attacks, if the bottling technology activates, and if Lex is cooperating, Earth will need more than one Superman. It will need an entire family. And not all of them will be on the same side. One of them may not even be Kryptonian, but might know too much about them. That's where things get complicated. The art shared by James Gunn isn't just a visual teaser, it's a symbolic roadmap. In the foreground, Superman appears in a suit that faithfully mirrors the classic comic design, particularly Jim Lee's version, but with denser, more alien textures. In the background, Lex Luthor is seen in his power suit, its lines evoking Mitch Gerads' style. But the most striking detail is what's missing. The image doesn't show a visible enemy. There's no direct sign of Brainiac. What it does show is implicit tension. A clouded sky. A low angle that turns Superman into a near mythological figure. And, in the background, a faint geometric pattern. Almost imperceptible, reminiscent of the technological structures Brainiac has used in previous adaptations, like Krypton or Injustice. Architecture that looks too perfect, too artificial, too alien. Look closer, and there's something even more unsettling. The lighting. Superman is lit from below, while Lex is lit from behind, as if they're both facing opposite directions, toward the same threat. That inverted symmetry isn't accidental. It's a classic composition for a forced alliance. Two adversaries, compelled to confront a common enemy. Lex's armor, meanwhile, doesn't look improvised. It suggests adaptation, not invention. And here's a strong possibility. What if Lex has replicated Kryptonian technology, or even something from Brainiac himself? Superman. Legacy already established that Lex has privileged access to information about Kal-El's origins. Combine that with his talent for manipulating public perception. And the power suit could serve not just as defense, but as a symbol of Earth's authority against the alien. Visually, everything points to a film that will merge cold science fiction with classic iconography. This won't be the Krypton of glittering crystal towers. It will be biomechanical structures, living machinery, designs rooted in 1980s retro-futurism, but updated with a 21st century aesthetic. More Blade Runner than Smallville. And all this comes before the reveal of Brainiac's new design. That may be the most controversial element of the DCU so far. Will he retain the classic android-like appearance, with metallic skin and glowing purple eyes? Or will they opt for something more organic, more alien, less human? There's already a precedent that offers clues, hidden within one of the least expected franchises. But that's something I'll break down in the final section. Because what lies behind the name Man of Tomorrow isn't just a promise, it's a warning. For years, Brainiac was the villain who almost made it to the big screen. He was in early drafts of Man of Steel 2, with Henry Cavill, hinted at in the series Krypton as a background threat, and he dominated as the final boss in the Injustice 2 video game. But on film, he never had his moment, until now. James Gunn has decided to place him at the center of the conflict. And it's not just about aesthetics or raw power. It's a strategic choice. Brainiac represents more than physical danger. He embodies the idea of absolute control disguised as perfect logic. He collects civilizations, bottles cities, and eliminates anything that doesn't fit his pattern, all under the belief that he's preserving knowledge. That ideological coldness makes him the perfect antagonist for a Superman still defining his legacy. He's not Zod, driven by trauma and revenge. He's not Luthor, driven by ego. Brainiac acts out of reason, and that makes him far more dangerous. Narratively, Brainiac also offers something no other DCU villain currently provides: cosmic scale. He can connect directly with Argo City and Supergirl's backstory, justify Lobo's role as an intergalactic bounty hunter, and open the door to other worlds without relying on a forced multiverse. He's the natural expansion of the threat. A Thanos of knowledge, surgical and methodical instead of brute force. In the comics, Superman, Brainiac, and New Krypton in particular, this villain doesn't just redefine Clark's relationship with his origins. He also forces humanity to decide whether it can truly trust an alien to be its protector. That dilemma was already planted in Legacy, when it was revealed that Jor-El's message about conquering Earth was authentic. Now, with Brainiac arriving, those collective fears return. What if Kryptonians aren't the solution, but the problem? What's most telling is what's been implied between the lines. Early promotional material for Legacy already included concept art of Brainiac. That confirms his presence was planned before filming even began. Gunn didn't improvise. He delayed. He knew Superman's story had to start intimate. Lex, identity, legacy, before escalating to the inevitable. Because Brainiac isn't a one-off event. He's the gateway. And if that's true, then whatever comes after Man of Tomorrow may not be just a third chapter. It could be the first major crossover of the DCU. Brainiac wouldn't be the climax. He'd be the starting point, the spark, the miscalculation, the new ground zero. And it all begins with one word written across Kal-El's chest. Tomorrow. But whose tomorrow will it really be? The title, Man of Tomorrow, isn't just nostalgic. It's a symbolic redefinition of Superman himself within the new DCU canon. From Legacy, Gunn made it clear that his Clark Kent wasn't an untouchable messiah, but a young man who grew up believing he was chosen, only to discover he wasn't a savior, but a survivor of a civilization with a deeply questionable past. That inner conflict set the emotional foundation for the first film. But in this sequel, the focus isn't on his past. It's on the future he decides to build. In classic comics, the phrase Man of Tomorrow has always been utopian, a symbol of what humanity could become if it followed Superman's example. But here, the symbol carries tension. Jor-El's message, the one Lex exposed to the world, wasn't fake. It was authentic. And that revelation left a shadow hanging over the Kryptonian legacy. Can humanity trust someone whose very existence was designed for domination? This dilemma resurfaces with Brainiac. Because if a higher entity arrives on Earth to preserve it in a bottle, as he's done with countless civilizations, doesn't Superman become the inverse reflection? He also came from elsewhere, but chose to integrate. Brainiac comes from elsewhere, to archive, control, and imprison. Two opposite responses to the trauma of losing a world. But the most unsettling nuance is in what Gunn doesn't say outright, but strongly suggests. If Lex Luthor is released, if Supergirl returns with Krypto, if Lobo is active in the solar system, and if Brainiac triggers a global response, then Man of Tomorrow isn't just a title, it's an open question. Who truly represents the future of this world? The alien who chose to stay? The cousin who remembers the worst of Krypton? Or the human who never accepted being second? The DCU is building a stage where tomorrow isn't guaranteed, where the S on Superman's chest stops being certainty and becomes responsibility. And the most troubling possibility is that the legacy Kal-El has fought to build may not be enough to stop what's coming next. Because Brainiac knows something even Clark doesn't imagine, and his arrival could trigger consequences that will change not only Earth, but the entire structure of the new multiverse. And if this video connected you with a deeper perspective on the DC Universe, make sure to subscribe. We're close to hitting an important milestone on this channel, and every subscription brings us closer. By joining, you become part of a community that doesn't just consume geek culture, it analyzes it, interprets it, and lives it. Before you go, tell me in the comments. From what city or country are you watching this video? I read them all, and it's incredible to see how far this community of Sentinels reaches. See you soon, right here on Universe Unique.